The movie begins in 1995. Lewis, a little child, has just lost both of his parents. His uncle Jonathan invites Lewis to move in with him in a letter. When Lewis gets to the final stop, his uncle Jonathan shows there. While assisting Lewis with his bags, he bemoans their weight. Lewis claims that dictionaries are in the bag and that he enjoys learning new terms. Jonathan responds that he doesn't have a TV, but the youngster still wants to see Captain Midnight by 10. When the bell from a big police car that is surrounded by walls begins to ring, they halt walking, and Jonathan gives the building a harsh look until it stops. They board a decrepit automobile and find themselves in an eerie home. Lewis asks Jonathan whether he really enjoys Halloween when he saw jack-o'-lanterns. A lady calls Jonathan back just as they are about to enter the gates, even though Jonathan claims he does it year-round. The lady is Jonathan's neighbor, Mrs. Hanchett. When she asks whether he went out to play his saxophone, Jonathan responds that not everyone is suited for the art form. Mrs. Hanchett informs him that the only thing that matters to her is that he performs at 3 in the morning, regardless of what he plays. She is shocked that Jonathan is in charge of preserving the life of another person and wonders who Lewis is. Though he acknowledged that his greatest jamming hour is around 3 in the morning, Jonathan pledged to keep it down. As soon as Lewis walks inside, he is mesmerized by a collection of several clocks that are all ticking simultaneously. Jonathan responds that it's exactly the correct number of clocks, despite his statement that it's a lot. Jonathan informs Lewis that the sound of rustling is coming from a crazy cuckoo when he is shocked by it. As the two argue, Lewis senses odd energies in the home. A slim lady emerges from a door, and Jonathan identifies her as Mrs. Zimmerman, his neighbor next door. Jonathan urges him to break free from all the restrictions he has followed and tells him he may eat cookies for supper. Lewis is eventually startled out of sleep by a loud metallic clang. When he sneaks out of his room to investigate, he discovers Jonathan listening to the wall. Lewis is startled as a figure emerges from a wall painting and starts laughing hysterically at him. He flees to his room in terror. Lewis witnesses Jonathan and Zimmerman loudly chatting about going through the wall early the next morning. Lewis suspects Jonathan when he sends him off to school in a comical manner. Lewis joins the basketball team at school, although he is a horrible player. Later on, Tarby, another child, attempts to catch up with him as they play cricket together. When Lewis answers his question about where he lives, he surprises him. Then Tarby informs him that a guy died in the home, which is why it is haunted. Lewis eventually runs across his mother, who informs him that he is in danger and tells him about a book and a key. She asks Lewis if he can hear the ticking when he wonders what she's talking about. He awakens up as he turns to face the wall. Lewis chases footsteps he hears again. He feels frightened upon discovering all the unusual objects in the home and becomes disoriented at seeing Jonathan battering an axe into a wall. Lewis rushes upstairs to get his belongings packed. A chair is in the middle of his path to the door, and the image on the wall warns him not to leave. Lewis begins to knock on the door, calling out for assistance, but Jonathan appears behind him, reassuring him that all is okay. Jonathan brings him into the library to tell him the truth about himself after promising not to kill him with an axe. Jonathan claims to be a warlock, and that Isaac and Selena, the previous owners, were the ones who owned the home. A warlock himself, Isaac passed away a year ago, but he is still trying to find his lost clock. Lewis, in the meanwhile, asks Jonathan to teach him how to wield a warlock. Lewis is given many books by Jonathan, who requests that he read them through first. Jonathan responds that it won't be necessary for a very long time to vanquish an evil spirit in order for Lewis to become a warlock. They are startled when a purple spider suddenly appears through the door, but Jonathan explains that it is Zimmerman's spider, whose spells haven't been working recently. While reading a book on Isaac's life, Jonathan advises Lewis not to open a certain cabinet because it is secured with spells. Zimmerman then arrives and claims to have searched the crawl area but has not found the clock. Tarby attempts to get Lewis out of his goggles when he witnesses several females making fun of him for wearing them. After Lewis gives his oak, Jonathan arrives in his car. Lewis is attempting magic for the first time under a full moon. After his first attempt fails, Jonathan advises him that attitude counts more than spells. Because Lewis thinks it strange, Jonathan shows him something much stranger. After bothering the neighboring dogs with his saxophone blowing, he urges Lewis to tap a fountain's still water, and when he does, tiny stars shoot out of it, filling the sky with a mystical solar system, right up until the garden lion shits on him. Lewis is loving the spectacle. Lewis asks Jonathan why he hasn't seen him before as he prepares to leave his room. Lewis informs Jonathan that he believes he is a black swan as well. Jonathan reveals that he was the family's black swan since he didn't get along with their father. Lewis begins to learn how to use magic, transforming the white fur of an imprisoned cat into a rainbow of colors. Then he causes Jonathan to float in midair and is unable to undo it. Lewis inadvertently directs energy onto the moving chair and causes water to spurt from the faucet into the face of an obnoxious child. Zimmerman attempts to reassure Jonathan that they'll discover the clock on the wall before it hurts Lewis, but Jonathan is concerned about it in the meanwhile. After some time, Lewis's sorcery has improved. These days, he uses magic for everything, including making his bed and building Captain Midnight a TV. Returning to school, Tarby is no longer at ease with Lewis after winning the elections, but Lewis persuades him to go home with him so that he can teach him magic tricks for his sporting events. Jonathan has also discovered the location of the clock at home. When he raises a statue's arm, a hidden opening in the jaws of a lion statue becomes visible. Jonathan proceeds along the hallway, which opens into a spacious chamber. All those noises at night appear to have come from the enormous structure within. Jonathan is ecstatic to see a chart on a table. Tarby unlocks the forbidden cupboard and pulls out a book on necromancy, while Lewis is in the library with him, searching for a spell to produce a flawless shot with the curved ball. As Jonathan and Zimmerman decipher a drawing on the chart that the former discovered, Lewis returns the book and leads Tarby out of the home. Lewis is reminded of the novel when his mother reappears in his room. If he uses the book, she assures him he can win Tarby over. Lewis persuades Tarby to grant him another go at magic the next day, promising to revive the dead this time. After robbing the book, Lewis meets Tarby in the cemetery, and the book directs them to the specific grave they should utilize. As Lewis performs the charms, Tarby settles down in a corner, but as the tomb begins to tremble, he leaves Lewis and flees. Lewis dashes back home, puts the book back, and climbs into bed. Lewis discovers that his spells are no longer effective when he wakes up the next day. Jonathan rushes to the cemetery where he discovers Isaac's tomb unlocked. He notices that all the statues are gathered on the bottom level, and that they are all saying, "He's back, he's coming home." Since he can't confront Isaac alone, Jonathan begs Zimmerman to assist him. She declines, telling him to tell Lewis the truth, but Jonathan responds that he's only a kid. She continues by saying that she can still wield a hammer. Jonathan notices that the enormous wall mural has transformed to an image of them all in individual coffins after they smash horseshoes into the front entryway. He goes to fetch more. Lewis is about to tell Jonathan what he did, but Zimmerman stops him in his tracks and assures him that the criminal will be very remorseful when they locate him. Lewis stops informing them and follows Jonathan's suggestion to spend the night with Mrs. Zimmerman. Lewis discovers that she is unable to create magic sparks in Zimmerman's residence. When he comes upon a photo of Jonathan performing with Isaac at a play, she tells him that Jonathan and Isaac were once the closest of friends until the former returned from war in Germany as a more formidable magician. After that, he left Jonathan behind and wed Selena, a nasty witch. According to her, they think Isaac murdered his wife in order to carry out a blood ritual and create a key made of human bone. Lewis attempts to discuss what occurred in the cemetery with Tarby at school. He claims that they are the reason Jonathan is in so much danger, but Tarby urges him to be quiet and threatens to break his arms if he does. When Lewis attempts to resist, he is then punched by him. Lewis stumbles to the floor, opens the page, and reads the word indomitable. He comes home to Jonathan after being inspired. As Lewis walks inside the library, the chart is visible on the table. Lewis is injured when the doors shut and books begin to fly everywhere. When he cries for assistance, Jonathan and Zimmerman rush to him. The chart is then sent to Zimmerman. Lewis informs them that he can read the chart because of Captain Midnight's demonstration, and he deciphers the code with a few cards. Jonathan deduces that the clock is a doomsday clock that will cause everything to go backward and cause the population to age until it disappears. When they go home, the whole house has been demolished. Jonathan claims that while they attempt to destroy the bone key, which Isaac was searching for, it doesn't even melt. Despite the child's cries and pleas, Jonathan chooses to send Lewis home after Lewis admits to bringing Isaac back to life. Lewis is told by Zimmerman that she will talk Jonathan out of it, so he should wait below. She approaches Jonathan and strikes up a conversation, to which he replies that their home is not fit for a child and that he is afraid for Lewis. Zimmerman, who is referring to Lewis' mother, warns him not to desert the child in the same manner that he did his younger sister. Following the conversation, she accuses Jonathan of being a coward and exits the room. The marmalade sound Lewis notices Mrs. Hanchet's dog barking outside. Despite all of Mrs. Hanchet's inquiries, he rushes over to alert her when he spots Isaac in her home. He brings Mrs. Hanchet into Jonathan's home from hers. Zimmerman is ready to leave the room when he calls for Jonathan and Zimmerman, and the door locks by itself as soon as they are inside the home. Isaac taps on the main door where Lewis and Mrs. Hanchet are as Jonathan attempts to unlock it. Mrs. Hanchet ignores Lewis's request for her to leave the door. As soon as she opens the door, Isaac enters. As soon as he greets them, Marmalade the dog changes into a rat. and Mrs. Hanchett confesses that she had been Selena all along. Lewis claims he believed them both dead, but Selena clarifies that Mrs. Hanchett was alive, and that the bone key was manufactured from her real remains. The night Isaac died, she hid from Jonathan and Zimmerman when they entered the home. Selena assumes the role of Lewis' mother and begins to shake her head once again. Lewis recognizes her as the one who used to visit him in his nightmares. Isaac informs her that he has to fetch the key for them after she explains that she had to use him since she couldn't go near to the cabinet. Zimmerman and Jonathan manage to leave the room in the meantime. They rush to the covert location and fall victim to a trap that Isaac has planned. Lewis is dangling in midair within a cage that, should it be opened, will reveal razor-sharp blades underneath him. Above the cage, a rat is nibbling the rope until it breaks. In order to free Lewis, Isaac requests the key and explains to them how he acquired his abilities during his stay in the dark forest. As it happens, Isaac met Azazel, the fourth prince of hell, rather than a witch. He attempts to use magic to remove the key from Jonathan's pocket while extorting Zimmerman, but she intervenes with powerful magic. She prevents Selena from stealing the key and rescues Lewis. Jonathan is about to grab the key when Isaac flashes a bright light in his direction. Before Zimmerman can intervene to help him, Isaac takes the key and leaves with Selena. The trio is driven from the home by the toys and jack-o'-lanterns. Lewis discovers the location of the hex, so they rush back. Zimmerman uses her magic to deal with the toys, but she is unable to reach the hex, and when Jonathan attempts to unlock the clock, he transforms into a baby. Lewis is the only one who can halt time at this point. He follows the magic ball's instructions to say farewell by tossing the ball into the clock. Everything is hooked and rewound by it. The film closes with Lewis saving the day, Jonathan returning to adulthood, and then managing to permanently damage Isaac and Selena.